2 former San Diego police officers have just been sentenced to 3 years behind bars after they confessed to burglarizing homes, stealing prescription medication, and then either taking it or selling it. This is Jennifer Charpentier and Bryce Charpentier. They're both married. And apparently the two had exchanged emails while on duty about the types of homes they could burglarize. And that's how they got caught. Now, they're both...
Enterprising young couple.
It's amazing. Now, she is actually an 18-year veteran of the police force, and he is a relatively new police officer, 6-year veteran. After they got caught, they both decided to resign, especially because they knew that they were going to plead guilty. They were both facing 7 years behind bars, but I'm guessing they got a lesser sentence since they pleaded guilty. And it's kind of, look, I'm, believe it or not, a little torn on this story because being addicted to prescription drugs is a serious issue, right? When you're addicted
Agree
to something...
to disagree.
No. Really?
I think it's very lighthearted.
No, but
also,
I don't want...
do you know what San Diego means in German?
I don't want anyone to think I'm giving the cops a pass. I mean, they burglarize people's homes just to steal these prescription painkillers, right? But I know people who have been addicted to opiates and prescription drugs, and it turns you into a completely different person. And so you're not in the right state of mind, and I feel bad for them. They need help, right? But what they did was wrong. You can't burglarize people's homes, especially when you're a cop.
Well, I mean, look, so that's of course true, but then I feel like it's used as an excuse in this case when it's not necessarily used as an excuse in other cases. So Supreme Court Judge Kathleen Lewis said that she took into account the fact that the two were good police officers until they fell into addiction. I mean, it's kind of like saying, like, no, Bobby was a great guy until he started punching people in the face. Yeah, but that's kind of the point.
I know, but I don't know how their addiction started, but I know people who have, like, hurt themselves, you know, hurt their backs or something, and then they were prescribed painkillers, and then they become so addicted to it, and it's unstoppable. I know someone who lost his house because he refinanced it in order to get money out. And that's what you do, right, when you take out the equity? Yeah, and he lost his home because he needed to get his hands on those drugs. I mean, it's a disaster. So it's something that takes over your body. You can't control it. What they did was wrong. They should serve time behind bars. You can't burglarize people's homes. But I'm just saying that it's not as clear-cut as people make it seem. They're not completely bad people. They do need help.
On the other hand, I say, when in Rome.
All right.
Okay. Anyway, I don't know if you got that right.
And
I did. I know.
I would just hope that, you know, things don't change until it hits home for people. You know, we always say no one really gets it until it's like, oh, well, that's my brother that happened. That's my family that this happened to. All of a sudden, lawsuits are cool for some politicians because it happened to them. So you would think, in this case, if you're going to understand these cops had a problem and they're addicted to painkillers, maybe they would assess that with the public, maybe change some rules, or at least push for something from rules be changed because they understand now these people they call just druggies and junkies and losers and assholes, and they deserve to be thrown behind bars and have no questions asked. Maybe you can relate. That's the kind of thing you'd hope would come out of this, but of course it's not going to.
Young Turks is about to make this racial. Oh, no. Okay, this is when people flip out. Right, so, yeah, no, Anna, of course you're right. JR's right. It's like, but for these judges and the people who are making the decision, when it's a couple of white cops who they can relate to, they've had cops in their court the whole time. You know, they're always, you know, associating them with positive things. Like, here's the guy who's protecting the community and he's always testifying against these bad guys, etc. And they fall into addiction, and I feel like, oh my God, oh, you were such good cops until they started burglarizing everybody's home. Well, what did you think? The guy who was hooked on something else and was burglarizing the homes was a bad guy? Was born a bad guy? Is always a bad guy? Is intrinsically a bad guy? Right? And it's not just racial. I'm kidding around about that. But, you know, it's socioeconomically poor folks that they don't have contact with, they assume, like, well, I mean, they're the bad guys, right?
Right. They're held to a different standard when it comes to the justice system, and we talk about that all the time. And by the way, I don't care what someone's socioeconomic status is. I don't care what someone's race is. I don't care what their profession is. When it comes to something as serious as an addiction, I have the same sympathy for everyone, right? So,
yeah, sure,
and unfortunately, that kind of sympathy isn't extended to people by most judges.
Yeah, no, of course, it's not about you. It's about the people in power. And And so even if it's like you name it, heroin addict, crack addict, etc., they once started as good guys too, and then they got addicted, right? So if we extend that sympathy to everybody, then I'm all in.